You know what's weird? I've been on 9gag lately, and I've been seeing a lot of Overwatch cosplay, but I specifically seen this one video that I know took place at Fanime, and it's been getting like the most like it's not a video. I believe it's actually a video, but like on 9gag, it's a GIF or a GIF. I don't really care however you people pronounce it. But it was it was just Diva twerking, and I was like, this is weird.
Oh god.
Was it the one with Diva and May?
Yes, and there was I think was it Reaper? There's a third person on the right. Because
Do
it
you
was
look like he
May.
had lost all his hopes and dreams?
No, it was actually I think it was a female Reaper.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it was. I don't remember it, but I know exactly which one you're talking.
You know which video I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, because I followed the cosplayer that did May, so she posted that GIF up.
It's funny because we talked about it in the last one, just how Jacob tried to describe that he followed the cosplayer, but he said it in a really awkward way. He basically said, I really enjoy following that one. It's the way he said it. It's like the fact that he enjoys following her was the part that made
Yeah,
me
that was that sounded kind of creepy the way he said that.
No, I mean, you know what's interesting is like I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like following cosplayers on Facebook, it's kind of like unusual to me because it's like, yeah, you like their craft and it's like, okay, you could like their costume or whatever, but it's just to me it kind of feels like, I don't want to say it's like dirty or anything, but it's like one of those things that I'd feel awkward about, like if somebody like in my family was like, "Oh, what's that?" and I was like, "Well, like."
That's why you always
Speaking
have
of
another
that,
window for alt tapping.
Oh, okay. This guy's got the hidden technology.
yeah, but speaking of specifically with Facebook, is that the one thing I really do hate is that I play World of Warcraft and I have some of my guildmates on my Facebook page, and at one time I was talking to them in our group chat, and they're like, "Hey, I see you like so and so," and I was like, I forget that sometimes if you like someone's picture, it'll show up on other people's feeds, so they'll see
Oh,
that you like the
yeah.
cosplayer's picture.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that
That
happened to me a couple times too.
See, but you know what I find the most well, this is like a personal story, but like one time I went to Hong Kong and they have like this game show, like Tokyo Game Show is way more like I guess prominent partially because you follow Tokyo Game Show because it's like a video game expo. I don't know if there's like anything else, but like mostly you hear like the Japanese are like their big video games are there, and I went to I think it was called Asia Game Show, and I was like, oh no, this is cool. I want to check it out, and I took a lot of pictures, but I forgot I took pictures on my family camera, and when I got back, you put the pictures on the computer, and my mom was like, what's all this? And my cousin had to be like, oh no, it's just cosplayers, don't worry about it. Like, and none of them were like really bad or risque or anything like that. It was just hilarious because I was like, oh
God.
yeah, I didn't have a smartphone at the time, so it was like, like I couldn't hide my shame, if you will.
Have no shame in your game.
Yeah, no shame in my game. Anyways, with that funny little anecdote aside, hi, welcome to another episode of Nerds No Sports with a question mark. It's like Doctor Who; it's got a question. I am your host, Aaron, and with me this week is Jesus.
Hello, guys.
And also, we have a special guest this week, and this will be a little confusing, but his name is also Aaron.
Hello. This will totally not be confusing. Yay.
Yay for making sure that people realize that there's two people named Aaron, and I'm not just a split personality. Isn't that right, Aaron?
Of course. Sure. Why would they think otherwise?
So I have a quick question.
Okay.
If I need to talk to a specific one of you, how do I address you guys so that way I can differentiate?
That is a very good question. I would say you could call me, I don't know, like Loud Aaron.
Okay.
I think that's fair. That's a fair.
Fair and not racist.
I guess that's true. You could call me Loud Aaron, or you could call me I don't know, the host. I don't know. I don't really care, but I don't know. I mean,
We'll go with loud Aaron or something. We'll figure it out as we go.
well, yelling Aaron. Yeah, that's the one. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay. So today, as mentioned in one of our last shows, we were going to talk about Overwatch today. Um, you know, I guess full disclosure, I know basically nothing about the game of Overwatch, so I have more questions than maybe um input to the game. But I'm here, joined by two. I don't know if they would want to be called experts, but I'm gonna label them as such. We have our Overwatch experts with us this week.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, no, it's it's a little awkward, but
That's high praise, but thank you.
yeah, I mean, you guys, I believe that Jesus should be labeled as a Blizzard expert in general. Um, I think the same could probably go for Aaron, but I actually have a few questions about that myself. But before we kind of like dive into this, I just want to know, where does the hype, come from? How much is it, kind of just like I mentioned, you guys are both kind of like Blizzard guys. How much of it is it that it's a Blizzard property and that's why you like it, and how much of it is it's just a really good product?
All right, so it's a bit of both for me. Like one of the things is that this was the first new IP that Blizzard has put out in pretty much a very very long time. So
Yeah, I think
it's
like
always
20
exciting.
years.
Yeah, so it's really exciting to see something like this happen. So that's part of the hype for me. It's something new from Blizzard, and I mean, like you said, that both of us play Blizzard games all the time, from Diablo, Heroes of the Storm, and World of Warcraft, all that. So I mean, that definitely had some part of it. The other thing that really interested me when I first seen it was that I had a lot of friends that played Team Fortress and stuff like that, and then the game is similar to that. And I personally, one of the things that I didn't really care for in Team Fortress was just the characters and stuff like that. And I really liked the way they did the characters in Overwatch, especially the diversity in the type of characters. I mean, have characters like Mei, you have a gorilla and Winston. I mean, there's some pretty big diversity in the characters. So I thought that was really cool, and that was one of the first things that stood out to me.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me. Like, I really enjoyed the fact that, yeah, Blizzard's actually doing something new, and the fact that all the characters have some kind of backstory to them as for, like, why what they are, or why they are what they are, like, what they've done, the whole Omnic crisis for the whole, uh, the whole, like, kind of overarching storyline about how all this happened, where did everyone come from. And I just feel like it kind of makes you actually give it. Oops, sorry about the characters.
Okay, so there's a couple things I just wanted to talk about. Was number one, you guys say like a new IP, but you mentioned Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone is another thing that comes to mind. Do those not count?
Yeah, those
Not
most people don't
really.
consider those. Yeah, because if you think about it, even though Heroes of the Storm is a new game, it's still using characters from other Blizzard games, and it's the same thing with Hearthstone. Hearthstone, it's just
Hearthstone is
basically
just another
it's World of
Warcraft game,
Warcraft. Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. So
So basically, it's like if like Nintendo released a Nintendo, I don't know, like
It's Super Smash
volleyball,
Brothers.
or yeah, exactly, like
yeah,
something where it's like,
exactly. It's just like that. Exactly.
so it's new characters completely is how
Yeah,
we kind of define the new
like
IP.
new characters and just a new universe, essentially. Like not necessarily. It could. interact with something else from the other universe, but like it exists solely within its own like universe in itself. Like this is
Right.
the Overwatch universe. It is not within the Diablo universe, Warcraft universe, or Starcraft universe.
Okay. I mean that makes perfect sense to me. And I guess the other thing I kind of want to touch on is Jesus mentioned Team Fortress, and Team Fortress is like kind of the thing I think of. This more. I don't necessarily use the word tactical, but like MOBA isn't the right word either. But this one where it's like the characters and the roles and the classes kind of factor very heavily into how you can play and how well your teams can do. I don't really know what the technical term for one of those shooters is, but like I kind of come from more like of Call of Duty, Battlefield, even a little Halo, kind of a background, and those games don't really have this level of like if you're playing X, Y, or Z class, you basically have to play it that way. Those are a little more like free, um, I guess, style, but with Overwatch and Team Fortress, it's like if you're playing a healer, you got to heal. You're not going to go guns a blazing. Like that's not really how it works. But how much does I guess that kind of gameplay interest you guys? Because to me, that's the kind of shooter that I can't really play that well. I mean, like I I would prefer something where it's like I have a little bit of freedom in the way I play, not just like, okay, now I have to change a class to play a different style. You know what I mean?
Uh, well, I describe it as an objective based shooter because that's all it really is because there is no deathmatch at all.
Right.
And it's really different in the way from Team Fortress 2 because there are more than just, was it like five, 4 or 5 classes? And the fact that the team sizes are much smaller. Like it is 6v6 instead of like, I think it's, isn't Team Fortress 2 like 15? V15 or something?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it is 15.
yeah. So like that way, and with the 21 different heroes that Overwatch has, there's a large amount of team compositions in which you could actually use. So each person has a significant larger impact than say in Team Fortress 2. At least that's kind of how I see it.
With me, the one thing that I really do like is that, like you said, there's a lot of characters in Overwatch. So every single person pretty much you have a little bit of options on what you want to do because there's hybrid characters that can heal and damage. There's strict healers, there's tanks, and just the normal damage characters. I mean, the one thing that really matters to is like if you're playing with friends, you have a lot more options of what type of characters that you can use because you guys can discuss within yourselves what composition you want to do. You can say, well, you can do this and you can do that. But if you're playing strictly with just random people online, on console, I mean, you automatically get connected to voice chat. Blizzard's still working on getting their own voice chat for on the computer. So once that gets implemented, it'll be a little bit easier. But when you're with random groups, sometimes you get into situations where nobody picks a healer at all, nobody picks a tank, nobody picks a support character or something. So you sometimes you get forced into certain roles if you're playing with people that you don't know, just random groups. So that's the one disadvantage in the situation because, like you said, if you're a person that's used to just playing Call of Duty or Halo or something where you can just pick any class you want to do, like you can when you make your custom class and stuff, choose any guns. It doesn't matter because the composition really doesn't matter. You kind of have free reign. But on this, you may get shoehorned into playing something that you might not want to do because you're not going to win if you don't have a healer. So if nobody's picking the healer, you get in a situation where you pretty much have to be a healer.
Yeah, that is the thing because or sometimes you can get away with it, but most times you really can't, and it's kind of a thing for really anyone. It's just you end up having to use some heroes that you may not want to, or you can just be like that one guy's like, I refuse to use anything else other than like Soldier 76 or Bastion.
Yeah, I hear that those two are basically like the like the lol cod characters. How much truth is there to that?
Uh, Soldier 76, yes, because he's literally just a soldier. He has
Yeah,
his gun, rocket, uh, or as they used to call it, noob tube.
Oh my god,
yeah. He's
I missed the
Bastion and
noob
Soldier
tube.
76 definitely are kind of like two of the most accessible characters for someone who's coming from that specific shooting genre. Because especially with like Bastion, you can kind of just sit there and spam shoot. Like you don't. It's a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
easier to get away with that. And like Aaron said, Soldier 76 is pretty basic. You got your noob tube, and then you just shoot with your regular guns. I mean, there's his abilities aren't too hard to get used to. So I mean, it's something that anybody can kind of just, as long as you play the shooter, you can play those two characters pretty much.
All right, I see. I mean, I was actually kind of interested in Soldier 76, but I mean, like I don't, call me a noob all you want. I don't care.
mm.
You know what I mean. But
Like it's a good way to like to get into the game to start it, and then kind of
mhm,
when you get used to them, you're like, huh, I wonder how this hero plays out, and
right.
then you go on to learning your second hero.
Well, so this is an interesting idea for me. Is like I kind of stopped playing shooters basically when I went to college because I didn't have a console really, and the shooters you really need internet. It's not like the golden age of like the N64 where you had Golden Eye, and you get like a group of people together crowded around the console playing like split screen. We didn't do that as much. After Xbox Live and PSN kind of took off. But like, I started getting into fighting games, and as somebody who didn't play anything other than like Marvel vs. Capcom, and I really only got into that because I liked comics. Um, I found myself kind of like looking at characters and thinking to myself like, oh no, it's less about a play style, more about like how the character is. Like if I like the character design, then I'll try to learn them. Like how much does that kind of come into Overwatch?
Well, first thing is that I would say is that I don't think there's really a character that you can say is unplayable. So I mean, as long as you learn how to play the character, I mean, you can play that person. So if you like someone just because of the way they look or something like that, I mean, you can get away with playing that. Like I said, it's just going to be depending on your team. Because one thing that, like I said, it's kind of good to know how to play at least one character of each role, just so that way, just in case you're in a random group and someone decides they don't want to be a tank or a healer or whatever, you can do it yourself. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely get away with playing pretty much any character. I mean, the main reason I started playing May was because I mean May is obviously May, so I mean
God.
that is legitimately the only reason. So, I mean, and May is awesome. So I mean, it's like I said, if you like a character because of their design or their backstory, because like Aaron said earlier, each one of these characters has a specific backstory. You learn they're really in depth. I mean, Blizzard did a pretty good job with putting that together. So I mean, you have a lot of choices.
Well, I mean, like Aaron, how does that really kind of factor into you for like, I guess character loyalty is what we call in the FGC, but I don't think that's much of an issue in Overwatch.
Uh, 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 well, I, I guess I don't know. I just like what certain characters can do, and so I'm able to just stick with them if I can. And like I play Lucio and Mercy a lot, so
Uh,
I guess I made support. I don't know, but like I just really enjoy it. Like I kind of enjoy like, what they can do. Like with Lucio, his right click is a kind of an AOE knockback. So what I
which one
really
is
love
he?
doing on some maps, Lucio. He's
Yeah,
the guy with roller skates, essentially, with music.
the DJ.
Yeah, the DJ.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so like his his healing is passive, and you can switch in between healing and speed boost just by like pressing shift on PC.
So he's a support character.
Yeah, it's a support. It's he can do damage. It's just really low, mostly just to kind of either chip away at health or finish off.
Right.
But like I like to push people off ledges because it is the funniest thing ever.
It's an easy way to kill people, right?
It's annoying.
Yeah, especially on the control maps where the control point is right next to a ledge. Just
Oh wow.
bop, knock them off.
You know what that reminds me of is like a similar thing is if you remember verses in Left 4 Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember in Left 4 Dead 1 I was really good with the hunter, but in Left 4 Dead 2 my favorite moment we had was we were playing on I remember which story it was that you start off in like the apartment complex and you have to walk your way down, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, that one.
I spawned as a charger, and these guys were like really really good, right? And they were all together, and I spawned, and then I just rushed one of them, and I ran him right through the window, and he insta killed both, and I insta killed both of us, and I was literally the only guy who got a kill that entire like game because those guys were really really good, but they just really did not expect that to happen. I also like how you say you main support, like it's like saying I main the bass in Rock Band.
I, I don't know.
That's
It's just 8 out of 10 times I end up going support.
So do you think you kind of gravitate towards like that kind of play style? Because like
Uh,
with Battlefield, I played all the play styles, but I really liked in Bad Company 2 specifically. I loved the healer because you had the freaking light machine gun, and you had the healing boxes, and you had the defib.
uh, I know like my first couple of games ended up going support because no one else chose it. And I
Right.
just really just liked how they played. Uh,
Team
Plus, I
synergy.
didn't really have to do too much.
Uh-huh.
Like with Mercy, you just hold click and shift the people whenever an enemy's getting nearby. So that way I can get away and hopefully my team is not too stupid to let me die. Yeah, which happens a
Oh, they
lot.
will though. They
Oh
will.
yeah, that's why I go Lucio's, and that way I can either get away or just knock back and run. Because Mercy, you're screwed if you're left alone.
Well, so okay, so Jesus, what do you find yourself gravitate towards?
For the most part, I usually try, if I can, I'll be diva. But lately, a lot of the matches I get into, like 3 or 4 people will try to be diva at the same time. So it's like that's a no go.
That's 3 tanks.
Yeah, exactly. So when that happens, then I'll pick someone like May, or I have a lot of fun with Hanzo too. Hanzo is actually really fun to play. But I mean, for the most part, like I said, you do get in situations where no one picks a support character. So if that happens, then you can, or a healer or something, So then if I'm picking a healer, I'm gonna go with Mercy. I like being able to fly to my teammates. I don't know. It's just really cool just to be able to target a teammate and just fly right to them. It makes it a lot easier to get into the group. But like Aaron said, if you're playing as Mercy and then for whatever reason they leave you alone, you're pretty much screwed and you're gonna die.
Then you just gotta whip out the pistol and hop around.
Lord.
That's
So
what you do in Halo.
yeah, no, I remember I remember in Bad Company 2, I reached the point where like I was running out of bullets to the point where I was just like, I'm just gonna pull out my pistol, and then I was still killing people, and then I was just like, well, I'm out of bullets for real. Like I just need to die. Like I just need to respawn right now because I don't have any bullets. Because in that game you pick up kits. You don't pick up like
Mhm.
guns like you do in COD. But like I I so this is my question to you guys because I'll start off a little story, but like in Bad Company, which was really my Battlefield, was really my experience for kind of more like class based because you would have your assault, which you'd have an assault rifle and you'd have like bullets to refill, and that was kind of your role in the team. And then like you had an engineer, which was like you could take care of you could both fix tanks and whatever, and kind of you were more like inclined to destroy them. And then you had your medic who was like you get a light machine gun, but you'd have no way to deal with vehicles. And then you'd have a sniper. But like you know in that game, I didn't always have enough people, like especially Bad Company. But like it was just easy enough. Also, I kind of feel like it was easy enough because people are coming at it like Call of Duty. They're just one man armying things, and it's like you guys look like a bunch of morons. So it's just like me and my friend, we know what we're doing. So we, pick the classes that we know we want to play, and then we just like, kind of take care of it that way. But in Bad Company 1, it was way easier for just two people to basically like take care of things. But by Bad Company 2, you kind of needed a team, and it sounds like this is the kind of game that you really need a team. But like I always wondered why people kind of just jump into randoms. Like it seems like this game is popular enough where you could find friends to be like, hey, you want to play this tonight? And they're like, yeah, sure. So you have at least one other person, so you don't get like, I guess, strong armed into playing a role that you don't want to play. But like how, I guess my question is, how often do you play with like your friends, and like what really is the I guess allure to play random? Because even when I played Bad Company random, it was like a terrible experience because I'm like, I can't communicate with any of these people, and they're all like just playing like kind of crazy, and I can't carve out a role here.
So, well, yeah, playing with friends is just a lot easier because it is just easy to say, hey, you switch to this, or we need this, someone switch, please. Whereas the randoms, they're not going to do that. Like, if you say that we're going to need something else, like, hey, we need a Farah, no one's going to do anything. Or they're just going to respond like, hey, screw you, I'll do what I want. Respect my authority. And the allure of really playing with randoms, uh, not really. Like, you may get lucky and find a decent team to play with, but that doesn't happen often. Like, I only got lucky and found a good team one time, and right, like we didn't communicate at all, and yet we just stomped the other team. Like, I just kept going until the matchmaking like automatically separated us because everyone else left.
Mm.
Like I was like, I didn't get food, I didn't get anything to drink, I didn't go to the bathroom. I just kept playing
Oh my
until
gosh.
like they split us up because the entire opposing team just left because they
Right,
raged.
right, right.
It was so much fun.
Okay.
For me, there really isn't too much allure to playing randoms. Like the only reason why I really play with randoms is because either my friends are at work or doing something. So it's like I want to play. I love the game, so I want to play it. And then if my friends aren't online, I'm not gonna just sit there and not play
Yeah.
it. So I mean, if you want, that's the big thing with me. It's just like I want to play, so I'm just gonna play even if it means I'm stuck with randoms. I mean, you do find some good groups in there, but I play mostly on console. So what I'm finding is that there's a lot of people that aren't used to the idea of an objective based shooter like this. A lot of people are just used to playing Call of Duty and Battlefield and Halo and stuff like that. So there's people who are still getting used to having to do specific roles and stuff like that. I mean, but I'm sure that that'll change with time once the game's been out longer. But I mean, if I could, I would always play with friends. I mean, it's that would make things a lot easier. Just because, like Aaron said, I mean, you can tell each other what role you do this, I'll do that. I mean, it just makes it a lot simpler. But I mean, if you want to play the game, I mean, like I said, you just play it. So that's what happens most of the time. Is just I want to play, no one's online, they're either at work or something, so I'll just play.
Right. Okay. So I mean, what I guess my next question is, a lot of people kind of compare this to a game like Team Fortress, but did anybody play Monday Night Combat?
I did not.
Jesus.
I have
Okay,
not
so
played that
like Monday
either.
Night Combat was basically the same thing. It was a little quirky little shooter, and one thing that I thought was interesting about it is, it was basically the only thing I could play because I just couldn't get used to like I guess when I played it I felt like the damage I was dealing was not realistic, so I was just kind of like, this is kind of BS. But we played horde mode in Monday Night Combat, and it's basically the same game. You have your classes, um but how do you guys feel about, like, do you think a horde mode would work in Overwatch? The invasion of the
Mm,
robots.
maybe
No.
if I don't know if there were different types of robots, not just ones that just rush at you, then yeah, because you can just mow everything down with six bastions, really.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think it'd work. I mean, it just depend. I mean, it depends on what the mode is like. But I don't. It'd be kind of tough in this
Like
game,
if
I
they
think.
just send every hero at you, like multiple copies of each hero at you, then it could, because then you'd get hard countered by many. Like
Hmm.
if they send a couple Genjis out of six bastions, then yeah, they can get destroyed so fast.
So, I mean, I guess, like, the other thing I kind of want to know about this game is how far do you think, like, the lore kind of takes it? Because lore can make or break a game for some cases. Like, for instance, like, I think Five Nights at Freddy's is a terrible game after, like, the first one, because the formula is just the same, but like the lore was something that I could understand why people kept coming back to it, even though it felt like it was the same game over and over again. It's the same, like, five jump scares over and over again, but like the story was well written, so people could go back to it. Like, how do you feel like a game like this with pretty good lore, like, kind of gets propelled over, like, a game like Battleborn, which is basically a similar game?
Mm, this like Blizzard has been doing a lot for the lore. Like they've released various comic chapters, animated shorts that don't deal with the game. Doesn't deal with like the gameplay itself, but just like what the characters are doing at a certain point in time. It's like this is the aftermath of the Omnic Crisis, which is when the Omnics, which are the robot race, led an uprising against the humans. So yeah, that's what all the written out lore is with that deals with the Omnic Crisis kind of briefly, and now it's just showing what the heroes are doing now, because the game itself doesn't really reflect the lore. It's just, oh hey, these are the heroes. They can team up even though they're on different sides and fight against each other. Yeah, like the lore doesn't really deal with the game itself. It's just its own thing.
I think the lore can kind of help carry the game. I mean, if you've kept up with Blizzard games in the past, I mean, pretty much all their games are pretty lore intensive. And if you go into the Warcraft world, there's probably at this point there's probably hundreds of books for Warcraft that delve into the lore. So I mean, Blizzard tends to do really in depth and thorough lore. So I mean, I really like the characters, so it's something that would it's gonna help keep me interested because I'm gonna want to learn more about some of them. So I think just them releasing whether it's more shorts, animated shorts, more comic strips, or if they ever plan on releasing like books or anything like that. Those are things that will help keep me interested because I'm going to want to keep learning about the characters, and I think that can help out new players as well because I mean a lot of complaints about a certain game. I mean, we always hear complaints about games. I mean, one complaint that you hear is a lot of time is lack of character development and lack of things. And like this is an objective shooter game, and then the characters have such an in-depth story. I mean, they're you actually get to really know some of them, and I think they're going to keep expanding on that. So I think that'll help some players out.
Okay, and wasn't this Like a failed MMO originally.
Basically, what happened is Blizzard was working on its next MMO, was Project Titan. It was supposed to be like a shooter MMO, I guess is what the best way to describe it. And they worked on it for years, but then they kept scrapping it and starting over, changing things, and then eventually that project led up to this.
Okay, I see. So how like how much does it kind of factor in, like, so when I look at a game like was it Battleborn, I believe was the one that 2K released, that got like
Yeah,
little to no hype at all, part even despite the fact that 2K is a pretty big publisher. It's part of Take Two, which also encompasses Rockstar, so it's not a tiny publisher. But like when Blizzard comes out with this game, everyone like freaks out. Like I always kind of think of like Hearthstone. Like I never got why people got so big into that game when like I look at it and I'm like I don't really see the appeal of this game outside of the fact that it's digital and that's why you don't have to pay for, cardboard anymore. But like how does, Blizzard kind of like say, they put their name on something and suddenly it's gold. You know what I mean? Like it kind of is like Valve in the same sense, or like I guess BioWare. These publishers that can basically do no wrong.
so with Battleborn, initially a lot of people were comparing Battleborn and Overwatch. Like they both seem to have, at least from what I've seen, they both had a pretty good deal of hype around, like say, between November and maybe about March or something.
Okay.
Everyone was like, "Oh, Battleborn and Overwatch, like they're kind of the same thing."
Right.
And then even Total Biscuit did a pretty good video on both Overwatch and Battleborn, even saying like these are not the same game. Like they are completely different. That their own games in their own right. And so I'm not really sure how or what happened to Battleborn to why it just kind of ended up dying out. Like I think it kind of goes for pretty cheap now. Like yeah, I don't think it's priced at its initial price anymore. And I haven't really heard anyone talk about Battleborn much at all. So I'm not really sure why the hype for it suddenly just died.
So you don't think like something like Blizzard's name on an Overwatch kind of like made that game get way more, I guess, spotlight?
Well, yeah, I think it did to some extent, but to completely extinguish another game,
Right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, for that I'm not sure either because I mean Blizzard's name hasn't been too. I mean, aside from probably Hearthstone, I mean their track record in the eyes of a lot of fans hasn't been too good
Yeah,
lately, because a lot of people didn't like the way Diablo 3 turned out from day one. They had a lot of server issues on day one, and not just that, the gameplay itself from Diablo 2 to 3 was very drastic, the
Right.
changes.
It was
So
also
a lot
online
of people weren't
only,
too.
basically.
Yeah, online only, exactly. So there's a lot of things about that upset people. A lot of people were upset with the last two World of Warcraft expansions. I mean, people thought Mr. Pandaria was a joke or something at first because it was just so
I
weird.
thought
The concept was just so
I thought
out
it was
there.
like an April Fool's joke at
Yeah,
first.
yeah, a lot of people thought that it was going to be an April Fool's joke or something weird. Warlords of Draenor, I mean, it started off where everyone was pretty happy, but as the expansion went on, fans complained about it because there wasn't anything really to do. So I mean, for the most part, people haven't been too happy with Blizzard. I mean, if you go look at the World of Warcraft forums right now, you'll see tons and tons and tons and tons of posts from people saying how the game is dying, how they hate what Blizzard's doing, how Blizzard doesn't listen. I mean, so I mean, their track record
It's
isn't
the same as StarCraft 2.
too high. Yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
but
Dedicated.
so as somebody who doesn't really play Blizzard games as frequently, like I was on the Diablo scene, and then yeah, Diablo 3 was a game that basically was like, yeah, no more, I'm not really gonna play this. But like, um, you know, you talk about StarCraft, and like when I think of StarCraft, I think of like the fact that they got away with like releasing this, not the same game. I cannot call it that because I play fighting games. I play Capcom fighting games. So people are like, "Well, you bought Ultra Street Fighter," and I'm like, "Yeah, I did," and so I'm not gonna criticize Blizzard for that, but I look at that and like I'm like, to me as someone who doesn't know, I thought like when StarCraft 2 came out, when it was the Terran focused campaign, I was like, okay, I thought that was it, and then it's like no, then there's what, Heart of the Swarm,
Yeah,
and then now there's like the
Legacy of the Void.
Protoss, yeah, exactly, the Protoss one, and I'm like, like every time I hear this, it's like hype, 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 hype. So I'm like, maybe people are not necessarily like proud of the product like when it comes out, but like I still hear people like excited for like Blizzard.
As regards with StarCraft 2, what you're buying with when each when the expansions came out, what you really got was the storyline for say, like for Wings of Liberty is the Terran, Heart of the
Right,
Swarm, Zerg, Legacy Void, Protoss.
right.
But with each of those new expansions, there were additional units added to multiplayer. So that means new units to use in your ladder matches.
Your
So
meta
like kind of more
basically gets
things you can do.
changes.
Yeah, yeah. So like new
Right.
strategies. Yeah, there's like new strategies you can do, new ways to attack, defend, and just a whole slew of balance changes.
Right. But I mean, like I said, it's the same thing for for me, because it's like, hey,
Yeah,
there's a new Street Fighter character. Like it's a little different because of how 5 does it now. But like when 4, it's like Super Street Fighter 4, and that's like a bunch of new characters, and it's arcade edition. It's only 4 characters, but then there's a balance patch, and then there's just one that was basically a balance patch, and then Ultra was 5 characters and a balance patch, and obviously to someone outside of the community, it's like you just bought the same game like 4 times, and it's like you don't understand. I bought the changes also, the new characters, because I want to keep up with the game. Yes, that's a proper reaction to it. But I mean, like, I still, as someone who is not a Blizzard expert, I mean, I feel like it's still one of those companies where you hear something comes out and you're like automatically excited. Like with the new Mass Effect, I am not excited about that at all. But I saw a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, there's a new Mass Effect!" Like, oh, it's got all these things. I'm like, I thought everyone hated it after 3. You know what I mean?
I think it was just the ending that kind of pissed off a lot of people.
Well, Marauder Shields is the hero we need.
And
And
those
and
pretty 3 colors, right?
that did nothing basically. Yeah, no, totally. I remember all the complaints, but like still people are like, hey, it's like that. It's like I love BioShock Infinite, but like if BioShock Infinite was terrible, and then they were like, we're releasing a new BioShock, and then people are like, oh my god, they're releasing a new BioShock. I'm like, did you guys like hate the last one? You know what I mean? Like, it's exactly how I felt with like Watch Dogs. Right? They're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, there's a new Watch Dogs in San Francisco, and it's got a black guy, and it'll be good now. I'm like, no, that doesn't mean anything. Like, we all thought the first game was going to be good, and then when it came out, it was terrible. So, like, now it's an SF, and it's a black guy. How does that make me, like, all of a sudden, oh my god, I identify with this. This is going to be a good game now. It's not the Assassin's Creed 2 of games yet. Like, when Assassin's Creed 1 came out, it was terrible.
Yeah. God.
And then 2 came out, and it was great. Like,
Yeah, I
But
don't know how they went wrong after 2.
they kept they saw what worked. It was like, let's say they made a sandwich and it was great the first time, but they kept making the sandwich with the same bread, and the bread got old and stale and eventually moldy, and they're like, I don't understand why people don't like the sandwich anymore, because it's like you use the same bread over and over again. It got
Right.
old, literally. It got old, and then
It probably wouldn't have been as bad if they didn't just pump one out every year.
exactly they hit the Call of Duty model. of releasing the same game over and over again. But even then, it's like they do a different studio for each one. You know, it's between, well, it used to be two. I think it's three now. So it's like
Three? Hmm.
Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward. But
God, that's how out of the Call of Duty loop I am that I didn't know that.
dude, like I was like a COD head like nobody's business, you know. Like I got, like, I told this on the last show we did, but I got in an argument with this guy Aaron in an event and about Call of Duty. But you know, I mean, um, like, do you think, like, if you know, there's a joke about Half-Life 3 that it could be the worst
Okay.
thing that ever came out, but if it was just announced, people would lose their minds.
But
Like,
that's why they'll never announce it because they know they can never live up to the hype that it has right now, even though it is not announced. There's still everyone's just waiting for it, and there's already this pre-built up hype among everyone who loves Half-Life. And I think if it does get released, it will not meet their expectations, and everyone will hate it.
so is it like, you know, they had the idea of Schrodinger's cat was both alive and dead at the same
Um,
time. I like to call this Duke Nukem's
I
game.
was,
It's
I
both
was,
good
I
and
was
bad at the
just,
same time.
it's the Duke Nukem effect.
It's both good and bad at the same time. You know, we'll never know.
10 years later, maybe.
I mean, but
Hey, the new Duke Nukem was good. If you were a Duke Nukem fan, if you weren't a Duke Nukem fan, you couldn't come into this game and enjoy it.
like that game was so dated. Like that was a game that came, like, the genre had completely changed by that point. That it was just like it come and gone. You know, it's not like Doom where I've heard the new Doom is actually really good,
It is.
but I also heard the multiplayer for the new Doom is terrible.
It's because they started working on Quake Champions.
Ah, see, now Quake's coming back, and people are like, "Oh my God, y'all remember Quake?"
Dude,
And I'm just
respect your elders.
sitting here like waiting for another Fear game. I didn't even play Fear 3. I don't even think they'll ever make another Fear game. But you know, like I liked Fear.
And I'm just sitting here waiting for Silent Hills, even though
It's
it'll
never
never
coming
come
out.
out.
You know, now
Oh
you can
man.
play
No, actually, it's not called something else. It's called Death Stranding. That's just the name.
no, actually it's called Resident Evil 7.
Very true. Resident Evil 7 looks just like Silent Hill.
I mean, you know, and as a Resident Evil fan, I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll make an episode about it later. But like, how do you feel about, you know, like, to me, I don't really have that company anymore because it used to be Infinity Ward. Like, they release a game, I'd buy it, and then it used to be Irrational, but Irrational's dead now, and you know, otherwise it'd be like Bethesda. Like, if they released something, I'd be like, you know what, I'm probably gonna get that. Like, do you have studios like that? Is Blizzard that studio for you?
For me, I mean, I don't really have a studio right now. I guess Blizzard would probably be the closest thing. And the main reason why is because I've played so many Blizzard games that they basically just put me in every beta test that they have, so I get to try the game out for free. So I mean, that's pretty much the only reason why I get excited when they announce a new game is because I don't think there's a game that they've released in the last 3 years that I haven't gotten a beta invite for. So I mean, that kind of helps keep me excited because I know to expect an invite.
So do you think, like, actually getting a beta key is the thing that makes you like say, "Oh my God, now I can try it"?
Like I said, that's part of it. It's just because now I can get an idea if I'm going to enjoy the full game or not. Because I mean, I know it's not a complete version of the game, but I mean, unless I can get a basic idea, and I'd probably so it kind of helps.
So I guess, like, Aaron, do you have something like that? So like Jesus kind of like mentioned how beta keys are the thing that gets him able to play Blizzard games. Like, do you have like a studio that you're like, oh yeah, I'm basically married to the studio, or like, I guess, you know, does the beta key for Blizzard constantly help you say, yeah, you know what, I'll check this out, and if it's not for me, it's not for me.
Uh, I guess I don't know. Some things I really kind of hate betas because they're like things hardly really change with the beta. Like, oh, this is what's in the beta. With a lot of games, that's usually how the end product is gonna be.
Right.
And so uh, you kind of get the a really good chunk of the game just from the beta without really having to pay for it. The only thing
Uh-huh.
you don't really get sometimes is just the ending. Like some, I don't really like that just because uh, that's what a lot of people really focus on. It's what people expect now. They expect some kind of beta for a AAA game. And it's like, oh hey, check this out, give us feedback. But a lot of it, I don't really see change much.
So you think the feedback kind of falls on deaf ears?
Yes, but also, I don't know. Like, I guess just with just some games, it doesn't really work well, especially if it's a single player game. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
don't see the point of calling it a beta. It's a
It's a
damn demo.
demo.
It's a damn demo.
Right.
Yeah, not a beta. Like,
Well, I
I
mean,
get with betas with say multiplayer games.
right.
It's like, okay, how are things working out? Are the servers working? Are is the balance for some of this good?
Right.
That I can kind of get, but I don't know, just a whole slew of betas slash early access, which is a whole nother bad thing. Yeah, it's and it depends on the game really.
Well, so I mean, like, I don't kind of differentiate. To me, the difference between the demo and the beta, they're both basically the same thing, except the beta does have, like you said, multiplayer, and the demo is just the single player. But like, demos come out all the time. Like we look at E3 or TGS or GDC or PlayStation Experience or whatever convention or conference you have. There's always demos that you can play them,
Yeah, yeah.
and like,
Those I like because those are essentially what the finished product will look like at a
right,
certain stage. It's like
uh,
the first level of a game or the opening area. That is most likely what the final product is, and that is what the company is aiming for.
right.
Whereas with betas, it's just like, okay, this is what we have. This may or may not be the final thing. We A lot of this probably will change, but here you go. Here's what we have. Then it's
Mm-hmm.
just
It's like the rough
bomb.
draft.
Yeah, rough draft. And a lot of times it could just completely go wrong, and then everyone's just no, this is just
Terrible.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, you're totally right because I remember like the BioShock Infinite demo was when Songbird kind of took Elizabeth away, and that totally was in the game, and I was like, yes,
yeah,
love this game. I listeners, you cannot understand how much I emphasize this fact, but I freaking love BioShock. I have an untold amount of BioShock T-shirts. Um, But actually, I was surprised because I figured Atlas would be, kind of the developer you'd be married to. Because I didn't really play an Atlas game before Catherine, and like I bought basically a tower climber from a company I'd never played a game for before. like you know,
Well, that is, I mean, Atlas for me, I mean, I don't buy all their games. I would say the only things that I buy from Atlas are Persona games. So that's why and Catherine, but that was because it was made by the Persona team Persona.
uh
But I mean, so that's why I wouldn't say necessarily that that's like the studio, like my go-to studio or the studio I'd buy everything for, because the only games I genuinely buy from Atlas are Persona games. So
and Catherine was in
yeah.
the Persona universe.
it appeared so,
I
yes.
mean, you ran into him in 3.
Yeah, and in Persona 3 Portable,
Oh, really?
you'd run into him
Yeah,
at one of the nightclubs.
Oh,
yeah. I was really hoping he would be a DLC character, an unlockable character in the fighting game. So you like fight with the pillow, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Pillow and his underwear.
Exactly, like that. You're telling me that would be like, dude. You know what it would be is his like, they had ultimates because Atlas decided to go with Arc System Works, and Arc System Works hates you, but they have like these insta kill moves. So his would be like climbing up the tower, and obviously the person that you're fighting against wouldn't make it up to the tower, and then he makes it up and he celebrates, and then that's how you're like KO.
He knocks you off the tower with a pillow. I mean, that's what you do
To the sheep, yeah.
to the sheep. Yeah.
I mean that was a very cruel game. But I mean, kind of going back to I guess Overwatch. I guess here is a question I had is Overwatch is a shooter. That's kind of like new territory for Blizzard, I guess, because Blizzard to me is PC games, and back in the day that was like your hardcore RPGs in Diablo or like your real-time strategies.
RTS.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And then eventually MMOs. Those are way more prevalent on the PC scene than on the console scene. But like now PCs are kind of taking back. We don't have cafes anymore. I not to make us sound old or anything. Gaming cafes aren't exactly a thing anymore. These PC cafes aren't as prevalent as they used to be. Like with the death of the arcade, it met a similar fate. But like PCs are kind of taking it back because the internet is way more accessible nowadays, and people are kind of finding PCs are way more easy to build, and then like PC gaming in general is kind of coming back, and they're taking shooters back because it used to be like Counter-Strike, and now they're taking, and Counter-Strike is now big again, so they're like taking it back. Where do you think they kind of are? Like, do you think Blizzard has like a game where it's like if they released like a tower climber, would you get it?
Honestly, I don't know. I'd be really surprised that's what they're doing if they did do that.
Yeah, that would catch me really off guard. I mean, I guess it really depends on what they showed of it. Because I mean, if it happened to be like how Catherine is with Persona, where it was made by a specific team, and how it kind of takes place in the same universe and stuff like that, then yeah, I'd probably be interested. If it was just a new IP completely, then I don't know how I'd feel about that. I mean, for the most part, Overwatch kind of seemed like a leap of faith for me because, like, how you explained, Blizzard's never done anything like this. 'Cause, I mean, at its very core, it is a shooter. I mean, even though it's an objective-based shooter, it's still at its very core a shooting game. So it's very different from them. They've only done MMOs, RTS games. So it already took a leap of faith to get with Overwatch.
But they made a card game. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that
But
was
like
a
I
leap
was
of faith
like
too.
that wasn't a leap of faith for me because I've played Warcraft 1, 2, 3, and World of Warcraft. So it's hard. People always leave off the actual subtitle, which is Heroes of Warcraft.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
So
because with Hearthstone, they're building off an already existing world.
So
They're
it's
just
still
putting
like
they just made a card game out of it.
so it's still like
yeah,
like Catherine, because Catherine is technically in the Persona universe.
Uh, yeah, maybe I don't know. Like, I think this. I don't know. I'd say that is kind of the stretch because I think Catherine was originally going to be its own thing, and I think Vincent just happened to show up in Portal P3 Portable. I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know when the difference between when those games came out.
I think that 3 came out before Catherine.
Uh,
yeah. Persona 3 Portable came out before Catherine came out.
So he was kind of
uh,
like that Easter
And
egg.
and he was like a little Easter egg in the game, and he was just he said something about how he's having weird dreams.
that
And he was
that's
in
probably
he
like
was in,
a way
yeah.
to announce the damn game.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It was, but I mean, if you actually pay attention to the cutscenes and stuff in Catherine, if you look at like all the books and stuff like that, he has a bunch of books about personas and stuff on his bookshelf.
Uh,
I mean, it's yeah,
I didn't even know that.
yeah. I mean, I literally played that game probably about I did it every single ending, so I think it was
Oh
like
God,
8 total. So
Did you
yeah,
beat
I mean,
the challenge?
I still haven't beat it once.
yeah, I beat the Tower of Babel, and that's when you
Oh
unlock
man.
where you find out who Midnight Venus
Yes,
is.
yes, 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 yes. Now he played that game. I mean, that's one of those games that's cool because you play it and you kind of interact with it kind of how you would in um almost like real life. Like it's got like RPG elements, which is I don't remember who was the person who coined that term, but I hear it all the time. But it's like got kind of RPG elements on the sense that you kind of grind and all that stuff, but you kind of interact with it almost as if you would. Like Vincent kind of serves as a self-insert character. It's really cool. You should play it.
Yeah, especially the funny thing is, especially if you play the tower stuff, it basically at the spoiler alert, if you beat the
Okay.
tower, it basically shows Midnight Venus tells you that you're basically a self-insert character, that she was looking for her basically mate, and you, by playing the game, have earned that right. So I mean, you kind of are a self-insert character just by if the way the story actually goes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so okay, so
Is
like
spoiler alert done?
yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
okay, so this is my question is like, I play fighting games, I play FPSs, and FPSs are like, that's one of the reasons I would even try to play Overwatch. So like if Blizzard, let's say, completely um made a fighting game that was like basically Heroes of the Storm, that is not as much of a leap of faith as much as a leap of faith in your eyes than say something like we just made a fighting game and you have no idea who any of these people are.
Yeah, if they did a fighting game in the style of Heroes of the Storm, where it's just bunch of Blizzard characters and stuff like that from other Blizzard games, it's a lot easier for me to say, you know what, I want to play this, than it would be if it was just there like, you know what, we may have a brand new IP, completely new characters, and it's going to be a fighting game. I would probably be like, what the hell is going on? But I mean, I'd probably play it, but it definitely wouldn't be. I wouldn't be as excited, and I wouldn't be as willing to pay to buy it if it was just current Blizzard characters.
Yeah, it's because you know the current Blizzard characters and you want to play. You want to play as them.
Right, you just want
yeah,
to know who would win in a fight between blank and blank.
yeah,
Yep,
pretty much.
So kind of like Smash.
exactly.
Yeah,
Well, so Overwatch has generated a great community of people basically calling it Team Fortress with waifus. I for one cannot wait until Blizzard releases the Overwatch dating sim. That's not actually happening, people. It's a joke.
or is it?
Um,
Haha.
I if I like got like shut down because Blizzard's like, how did you know? Like I'd be like, I was kidding. That was a joke I made. I don't have spies or anything. If that's what you think. But like how powerful is like characters that you kind of attach to, like, because I don't know if the Overwatch hype will last, but I figure it will, partially because when I look at Twitch, people are still playing, Hearthstone. Heroes of the Storm isn't like the top thing because MOBAs are kind of dominated by this same two MOBAs, but like Overwatch is kind of up there. Like, do you think this hype will still last because they love the characters so much?
Well, it's been going on since October. That's when the beta, or October or November, one of those. Because that's when the beta first started, and it's still been going strong ever since.
Yeah, I think it definitely has a chance to stick around. I don't know if that's gonna. I'm not sure exactly if that's going to be anything to do with some of the waifu characters, but I mean, but they're definitely it's definitely probably going to stick around. I mean, it has a pretty good following right now. I mean, it's not like some games where when the game first comes out, it's easy to find matches and stuff, and then after a little while, those it dies out, and you got to sit there for a couple of minutes in the matchmaker before you get picked up. I mean, it's still pretty much instant, and like Aaron said, the game's been, I mean, it hasn't been out, but a lot of people have been playing it since like October, November-ish of last year, and are still playing it. So I mean, it's been a while. So I do think that it can last. I mean, even though, like I said, even though earlier I said Blizzard's track record hasn't been too good, I mean, a lot of people still play their games. I mean, it's just less than it used to be, but there's still a lot of people playing. So they have a big enough fan base to where I think that they can keep it going for a long time.
Yeah, and I think it really helps, at least with Overwatch. The game director, Jeff Kaplan, he actually is responding to forum posts and is giving the community updates about what the development team is doing right now, what they're wanting to do, what their priorities are. Like, he recently talked about competitive and how he addressed that, yeah, people had their issues with the how the beta did it. And that's what everyone loves the most, is just that the development team is actually talking to the community and listening to them, kind of acknowledging that yes, we do read everything you guys are talking about, and we do see that some of these things are a problem, and we're doing our best to address these if we can. And they're never making any promises on what they can or will do. They're just saying, yes, we do see these. We would like to do this, but we can't make promises, or else the community just gets pissed off at them.
Right. So you're telling me they could actually hear that I joked about them making a dating sim? Oh no.
Oh yeah, they'll hear it all right. They might be working on it internally.
I really hope they like that I don't get remembered as the guy who called Blizzard making a dating sim.
I mean, wouldn't you want to date Roadhog? There's so much to
remember
love.
which one Roadhog is.
He's the one. He's the pig. The one with the pig tattoo on his stomach.
He's the one with the hook.
Yes.
Everyone knows May is May, okay?
But who would you like? Let's say in theory they did make one. Like, would you just be a character that you just invented, or would you be a character in the game?
You'd probably be a new hero. Like your new hero wanting to join.
Yeah, probably.
So here's my question about the community. I've been seeing this a lot, Jesus won't stop talking about May as Bay, but like I see that kind of popping up a lot. I see Diva as like I keep seeing Diva as like a spoiled child, like a Mountain Dew drizzling like child.
Gremlin.
Is that what they call them in that anime?
Like I don't know, like that specific picture where she's just eating Doritos and drinking Mountain Dew. Yeah, that's like, I don't know, that's like, they call it Gremlin Diva. No idea why.
I think it's from, what is it, the Ume-chan? I don't know what, Jacob isn't here to defend his anime, but, like, that's what it looks like.
Anime he loves more than Sailor Moon.
And that, dude, okay, so a little aside, he tried to, like, get in an argument with me because I told him that I hated that anime because I thought the main character was a brat. And you know what? People, if you do not like what I'm saying here, comment below and tell me how you don't like what I'm saying here. But I thought she was a brat because, she's like, oh, I'm so elegant and so intelligent and such a nice person outside. But I'm just going to throw all this, terrible things at my brother and he's got to deal with it because he's my brother. And I'm like, this is a horrible human being. You know what I mean? And like, his argument was like, you don't have siblings. You don't know. And I'm like, I'm glad I don't have siblings. And this is what it's like. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be telling my friends, hey, you know what? My sister's actually secretly a monster. And they're like, you're crazy. And it's like, no, please, somebody help me. And nobody helps me because, they think I'm insane.
No comment.
But then he but then he comes at me and he's like, I started watching Gravity Falls and I don't like Mabel. And I was like, I know you're just trying to, piss me off right now. You know what I mean? Like, you're just saying that because I called Ume-chan a brat. But to tie it back into Overwatch, I saw somebody like basically photoshopped it so that Mabel was Diva and Dipper was Soldier 76, and he's just putting chips in her mouth because there's a scene where they do that, and somebody was like,
Oh
"Yeah,
my
I don't really
god.
see a difference between this and real life." Um, but like the community I think is funny because like what Soldier 76 is like the dad.
Yeah, what I've seen a lot is kind of a family thing, where it's Soldier 76 the dad, Mercy's the mom, and then Diva's their kid, I think. It's because she's the youngest out of all of the heroes.
and
Yeah, she is.
and she's a pro gamer,
Yep.
and she's in a mech,
Yep.
and she likes shooters.
I off the top of my head, I don't remember what game she played. I remember she was just a pro player. I don't remember exactly what game.
But she's from South Korea,
Yeah,
so it's
She
probably
speaks
StarCraft.
Korean, yeah.
So it's probably StarCraft.
maybe, maybe.
I was really good at the MOBAs and the RTS, and now I retire. I jump in mech suit, and now I take over world. I don't know why she would talk like that. I'm pretty sure that does not at all what
Actually,
Korean
yeah,
sound like.
her occupation is a competitive StarCraft player.
Okay, so I guess like the community is interesting because they have the Cult of May. I saw that on Facebook. I saw the one where it's like Tracer's booty, and I was just like, this is just getting out of control, because like there was a snafu of Tracer. But I actually thought one of the funniest things was it was like the
That was
biggest
so
no duh
stupid.
I ever saw was somebody modded the PC version of Street Fighter to make Cammy look like Tracer, and I was like, well, duh, like the original Tracer victory pose was literally Cammy's pose. I was more offended that they stole from that game. That I was like, oh my god, she should look at her butt. But shoutouts to
The great
whoever
thing is
remembers what that
they
was.
made that pose even better.
Yeah, they made it a pit up, right?
Yeah.
That's a bridge too far. That's when you done goof. You had good intentions, but you goofed. But like I'm actually surprised like they don't start like kind of like doing homages because like I loved Skullgirls and they did a lot of homages like one of Peacock's colors is she looked like Cable, and it was funny because she played like Cable. Shout outs if you played Marvel's Capcom 2 if you remember the horrors of Cable. But I'm actually surprised Overwatch doesn't do that. Do they do skins?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
those
man,
skins.
that Ava skin is coming though for
That's
Diva.
that's what everyone's been wondering. But yeah, I mean it's you get these loot boxes, you open them up, and then you get a bunch of random stuff, some of which can be skins and things like that.
So I'm just gonna wait till Diva gets the Tron bod skin, and then I'll buy Overwatch.
That's actually one of the things I was wondering. I was like, this is basically Tron.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I would play the game. You know what I mean? Because we were so for Skullgirls, when it went on Indiegogo and it was getting donations, and I even donated. They were like, once we reach certain tiers, now we can possibly add this character into the poll that you can vote for. And one of the characters was like the side character that I remembered, and I was like, well, how's she gonna play? And then they drew her in a robot, and I was like, well, now I need to play this character. Like I told Joe, and he was like, the only reason you're gonna play that character is because she's basically Tron, right? I was like, yeah, and he's like, okay, I accept that. I mean, look, am I wrong? If they did, is Hanzo the one with the blade?
No, that's Genji.
Okay, if Genji looked like Zero from Borderlands 2, I mean, come on. Come on. Or the guy from Blaze Blue. Come on. Come on. You know what I mean? I would be like, yeah, I'll look at this. If Hanzo was like Mitsurugi from Soul Calibur. I mean, come on. Come on.
I don't know those characters.
Oh my god. Okay.
I didn't play enough fighting
DJ.
Alright.
games, man.
If the DJ looked like Eddie Gordo from Tekken, Jesus.
That there you go. That's a good one.
See. I'm making contact on some of these. Like or like DJ from Street Fighter. It's basically the same dude. He's a Jamaican guy. He used to be a singer, but could fight. Or like
Or if
see,
McCree turned into Aaron Black.
or what's his name? John Marsden.
Uh,
Yeah, so now we're making contact. I'm honestly I'm sure there's fan art out there. And I would be so like down to check out some of that fan art because I'd be like, no, that's dope. Like that's a cosplay idea. You know what I mean? Like Aaron Black version is McCree. McCree's the guy, the tumbleweed man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
actually,
so
I just found this picture of Farah and Samus's suit.
Ah, the Zero suit.
No. The actual suit or the armor.
Oh, dude, that's baller, man.
Yeah.
Like the
I can't remember the
yeah,
actual
no.
name of the armor, but yeah.
What is the name of the armor?
Here.
That Chozo gave her the thingy thing.
I know there's.
Yeah, no, it's
Vera
baller.
suit. Vera or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I that sounds right. That sounds
That's pretty
accurate.
amazing.
I mean, like, do you think that's the next step? Is maybe not the verbatimly because that's a copyright problem, but like like homages, like maybe color palettes.
I think eventually, yeah, but right now, probably not.
I mean, they gotta focus on
Yeah, I was
releasing
gonna say
characters.
there's a few other things that, I mean, obviously that they're probably gonna focus on more at this beginning stage before they get to that. But yeah, I think eventually they probably are gonna have some color palette swaps and stuff, or palettes and stuff like that, and just costumes that sort of pay homage to other characters from other games and things like that. But I mean, for this first maybe 6 months or whatever, I mean, a lot of things are gonna have to happen. I mean, they're probably focusing a lot on balance patches and just more maps and things like that just to help out.
So, I mean, they released a balance patch for I think it was Widowmaker and
Widowmaker and
got
McCree.
got hit.
Yep.
And how
For good reason.
big of a difference did that make?
It helped because McCree could easily just melt tanks, even though he wasn't really built to do that.
Oh no.
Yeah, because that's what Reaper is supposed to be. Because what a lot of people do would just spam is fan the hammer, which is what you kind of see in westerns where they just constantly like hit the hammer of their revolvers and just keep constantly shooting until they ran out to use all 6 bullets. Then reload, then do it again. It did a lot of damage, which is I think it was like 45 each hit, or maybe even more. I can't remember what it used to be. But with a lot of heroes' health being 200 or 250, it would just completely kill them, either in 1 or 2 hits of it. So then with them lowering the damage output, then it's a lot easier for someone to survive.
Yeah,
But I
but McCree was pretty bad. I mean, for the first before that patch, I mean, it got kind of annoying at times because, like I said, I played Diva, and then Diva's pretty easy to stay alive with for extended periods of times. And if you got someone who was a good McCree player, like Aaron said, if they just did that ability, it could get you down really, really quick, and it was getting really annoying.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's no like ammo in this game, right?
No. You have instant ammo. Like you do have to reload, but you don't have to pick up like ammo from the ground or anywhere.
So it's more like cooldown than actual like.
Your cooldown is just your reload time.
Right. So it's not like. So it's more like. I think Mass Effect 1 was the one that had no ammo, and then 2 introduced ammo.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I mean, I think that's an interesting design choice. Like I said, I'm used to games with ammo.
Yeah,
You know those insane games. But it means you don't have to have a character that specifically like reloads people. Like
yeah. Like
that's
you
really
don't
all
really
I'm
have to
looking
worry
for.
about aiming too much or just
Mm.
shooting too much because then you don't have to conserve your ammo. You're just like, oh, okay, just keep going, 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 just forever.
That's interesting.
You still kind of have to time your reload so you don't get caught when you're reloading
Right.
and dying.
Totally, totally. But do you have sidearms?
Some heroes do, others don't.
Oh, okay. It's interesting.
Actually, I think the only ones who can change their weapons are Torbjorn, Mercy. Actually, I think it's just those two. Yeah, just those two
O-
have two weapons you can scroll through.
Okay, so here's a question I have. Do you believe that um crossplay would be beneficial to this game? Like, so we've been seeing a lot more games have the ability between the PCs and the consoles to play with each other. Do you think this is good for this game, or do you think it's going to be like a game like Rocket League, where it's kind of obvious who's playing on the PC and who's playing on the consoles, and it has like a unfair advantage almost?
Uh, hmm. I'm not really. I'm not really too sure. Like, I haven't really seen how the console version plays, so I can't really tell. I don't really know what the differences are between the two.
All
Because
right,
I
so
know, like for PC, like, it could be easier for aiming, but yeah, that's all I can think of.
yeah, I mean, I've played both versions so far. I played on the PC and on the PS4, and I'm it's a little iffy for me because one for sure is that a mouse and keyboard. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. There's no denying that it is easier to aim and it's easier to get precision with your aiming when you're using a mouse. I mean, it's just how it is because the sensitive. There's no way you can never compete with the sensitivity of a mouse. So I mean, I think that might be an issue. But other thing that really comes to mind for me is that when I played on the PC, I noticed that a lot more people understood the concept of an objective based shooter. Like they kind of understood what they're supposed to do. Whereas when I play on the console, sometimes I get into a lot of groups that don't really get the concept, so they'll play it as like it's a team deathmatch, and all they'll care about is killing people. When instead of staying and defending a base or attacking a base, they just won't do that. And sometimes I think that could become an issue. Like I said, I never really had that problem when I played on the PC. I mean, sometimes I get group composition issues on the PC, but I mean, for the most part, everyone seems to know that you're supposed to go defend this space, you're supposed to attack this space, or you're actually supposed to escort this vehicle through this path. And it's like sometimes on the console, I just get into situations where it's just people just shooting each other, and not worrying about any of the objectives. So that's the main thing I'd be worried about. It's just that, like I said, I think partially that's just because a lot of since Team Fortress 2, I mean, pretty much everyone had access to that, and a lot of people played it. I mean, most of my friends have played Team Fortress 2, and so a lot of them actually when I go on Steam, they're still playing Team Fortress 2. So I mean, a lot of people who are actual PC gamers have experience with this type of game. I mean, whereas on the console, I mean, the closest thing you have to it is like search and destroy and stuff like that on Call of Duty and things like that. But even that's different because there's no specific like roles or anything that you have to fill. So I think that's where the biggest gap is going to be, is just getting everyone on the console educated on exactly how the game is supposed to be played.
Well, it's interesting you would mention Search and Destroy because that was my game type in Call of Duty. But no, there for us there was rules because I that was a game mode that you had to play with people like so we had people who would rush, we had like a sniper, we had like it's not as advanced obviously because you can't heal each
Yeah,
other,
exactly. That's
right?
what I mean.
Like
It's not. I mean, you do have specific things that you should do if you have if you want to have a good team on those type of games. But I mean, it's not like you have a tank and a healer and stuff like that that you have to have focus. I mean, it's a little bit different in the way the rules work in a game like this versus like a search and destroy mode.
so why do you think they call this game like a MOBA shooter? Is it because it's a game that requires such like strict class like divides and MOBAs are basically like a similar thing?
I don't understand why they call this a MOBA. I just don't.
I mean, I don't play MOBA, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, a lot of people. I have friends that do the same thing. They call it MOBAs, and I always. I mean, I guess I can. I guess I see where they're coming from, but as someone who's played MOBAs before, I mean, it just the gameplay in itself is really different. I mean, there's roles and stuff on MOBAs, but I mean, it's really hard just to compare it. Like I always say, you can't really. If you see League of Legends, I mean, or Heroes of the Storm, I mean, there's really no comparison to the type of game it is when if you're trying to compare it to Overwatch. I mean, other than the fact that you need to have commu- for a good Overwatch team, just like in a MOBA, you would need to have good communication and make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do. But I mean, as far as the actual game goes, I mean, I don't really see any compare why you would compare it to a MOBA. I mean, but
Yeah,
I see that a lot though. I see a lot of people calling it that, but to me, it's just like the best way to describe it is the way Aaron did earlier, was that it's an objective based shooter. I mean, at its very core, it's a shooter, but the gameplay requires you to do specific objectives.
Okay. I mean, like, I think it's just a misconception based on the idea that you have defined roles in MOBAs, and that's the only kind of other competitive game people can maybe think of. But I mean, like I said, I don't remember, like, when did MOBAs first start popping up? Like, Defenders of the. So Dota 1? Is
uh,
that even a MOBA?
well, it was a mod. It was a mod for
For an
Warcraft
RTS.
3, I
Yeah,
think.
for
Right.
Warcraft 3, it was something of the Ancients or something like that.
It's
Yeah, the
Defenders
Defense of
of the
the
Ancients.
Ancients.
Yeah.
And then the first actual MOBA came out was Han, Heroes of Neverworth. No crap, what was I don't know what it was. So, I know its acronym was Han.
Okay. But, like, I guess my question is, like, when did Han come out? Because, like, I don't recall people referring to Team Fortress as it's a MOBA shooter, right? Like, this
No,
concept
it
has kind
was
of just come out more
Heroes. Yeah,
recently.
it was Heroes of Neverworth, and that was in 2010.
Yeah, so, like, like, when did Orange Box come out? Way before then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, way before that.
Because, but, like, we weren't calling it that, but, like, Team Fortress 2, minus the fact that it's the same few characters, is very, like, similar to Overwatch, right?
TF2. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if I
but
mean,
it's
there's some
just
big differences,
not
but I mean, the
comparable.
overall concept of what you're doing is pretty much the same. You have objectives. It's a shooter. You have objectives. You have very specific roles. Like I said, support, healers, tanks, damage. I mean, it's very similar.
But then, like, again, they weren't calling TF2 a MOBA, a MOBA shooter because there wasn't a MOBA. They were just like, it's a silly shooter with silly opening animations and silly hats.
I think it's just because of the prevalence of MOBAs and esports now. It's just, oh, like you have these certain roles that people fill. It must be a MOBA.
Okay.
At least
I,
that's how I think of it. I don't know. It just seems weird. People think of it as a MOBA.
No, I totally agree with what you said. Like, it's maybe because it's like similar to something else that's out. Like, it's not so similar to like obviously like a Call of Duty or a Halo or a Battlefield.
Hmm.
Although Battlefield is still more, I guess, like the middle ground. If there's a middle ground between a Call of Duty and an Overwatch, Battlefield is like closer to the middle of those two things. But I mean, I believe this was a very informative episode, as most of these should be, because it's kind of how we hope these are. Kind of wrapping this up, I assume both of you would highly recommend this game.
Oh yeah.
Of course. I mean, if like I said, if you've played Team Fortress 2, you'll probably like it. And if you haven't played Team Fortress 2, if you've played any kind of shooter, this is a fun shooter. I mean, it's very different from others, so it's a nice change of pace from your typical Call of Duty games. So, I mean, I definitely would recommend it.
Okay, I guess my final question for you is, if I was going to start playing this game, who should I play as?
Just play as Soldier 76 or Bastion, just because they're really easy to adjust into if you've only played a regular shooter. If it's someone if you've played Team Fortress 2, then I'd say you can try pretty much anyone, because you'll have an idea of what you're supposed to do. But if you've only played like a Call of Duty or Battlefield or something like that, I would recommend Soldiers 76 and Bastion, just because those are two easy characters to jump in, and they play just like a normal like Call of Duty type player.
Yeah, I'd agree because those. I think that might be why like they made them as they are, because a lot of people that's how their shooter games were. Just you play as a soldier, you go and kill Nazis
Hey, I
or other people.
killed opposing forces.
People who did not agree with my political ideals.
I killed the Russians. Um, yeah, I played a little of the World War II. I killed aliens, religious zealots, if you will, in the Halo games. But yeah, no, I could see that. Like, I actually kind of like the way Soldier 76 looks.
The other great thing about Soldier 76 and Bastion is that they both have two of the easiest ultimate abilities to use. Like
Oh
some
yeah,
of the other characters, you got to be very precise of the way you use it. You got to make sure you aim it properly. Or like with Diva, you have to, like, if you don't use her explosion properly, then people are just gonna run away from it. So I mean, there's certain characters where you got to actually take time and effort to learn how to use it properly. But with Soldier 76 and Bastion, it's kind of just use it and it's gonna work, and it's super.
Use it and abuse
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It's use it and
yeah.
abuse it. It's really simple. So I think that's one of the another good reason to play those two characters if you're just coming in.
Soldier 76 literally has aimbot.
Yep.
That's his ultimate.
Wow.
Yes.
So he has a noob tube.
No. Like his gun he automatically targets at you and shoots you and kills you extremely fast.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, but he does have a noob tube in
Yeah.
general.
It has a cooldown of like 12 seconds or
Yeah,
something.
something like that.
That's actually not bad. Like, I remember specifically, this is how I'm gonna go ahead and date myself with this reference, but I remember when Modern Warfare 2 came out, they had a
Yeah.
perk that was one man army. If you remember what one man army
Yeah.
did, it took a little while, but eventually the community realized that what you could do is you could just load up an assault rifle, attach a noob tube on it, shoot it twice, and then just one man army, and keep repeating the same class over and over again. So all you
Yeah.
were doing is just noob tubing people, and that's why that game ruined the series. Anyways, I want to thank my panel, as always. I want to thank Jesus.
I'm happy to be here, like always. Thank you guys for listening.
I want to thank our special guest, Aaron.
This was fun. Very informative.
Yeah, usually this is the point where we hawk our social media. So, if you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you for listening to us. Go ahead, leave a comment if anything I've said has um, made you angry in any way, shape, or form, and I want to know why, so I can further anger you. I mean, try to do better next time. Go ahead, leave a like, tell your friends to subscribe. You can always follow us on Twitter at Nerds No Sports and at Yelling Will Ensue and at Let's Argue Anime. And also, you can follow me at AALANLINE. You can follow Jesus at.
Juicer5024.
Thank you as always for listening to us. Again, I thank my guests, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.